I recently attended FinCon, an annual digital marketing conference that unites money nerds. At FinCon 2022, I led a live breakout session entitled Using Social Media and Generosity to Build a Thriving Financial Planning Business. I've decided to record a formal presentation of that session to share with others who are not able to attend live. So during this video, I'm going to start by briefly sharing my short journey of how I went from not knowing what an IRA was 4 years ago to launching my own financial planning business. Then I'll describe the 3 forms of marketing, sharing my perception of how financial advisor marketing is and should be changing as we double down on generosity and transparency. Before determining a social media marketing strategy, I will encourage you to create your own ideal client avatar. We will look at 5 examples of engaging content that has provided value and developed trust among the financial independence community, and then I'll close by sharing my content creation organization chart. After paying off my final student loan, I became obsessed with personal finance content as I learned more about investing. While still working full-time as a professional musician, I joined numerous personal finance Facebook groups and listened to over 3 hours of podcasts per day. Those included Radical Personal Finance and Choose FI. By August 2018, I learned about the potential career path of financial planning and was encouraged to enroll in a CFP education program to drink out of the fire hose in terms of knowledge. Within 2 months, I began to earn my CFP experience hours at my first financial planning job, working at a small fee-only RIA. By the next year, I passed the CFP exam, became the lead financial planner, and started the Measure Twice Money blog to document my answers to frequently asked financial questions within the financial independence community, completely unrelated to my job as a financial advisor. Fast forwarding to 2022, I have limited my capacity for one-on-one financial planning to serve 22 families per year, working in the business about 10 hours per week and taking December off each year. I spend the rest of my workdays creating and sharing educational content for DIY investors through Measure Twice Money and other financial advisors through Measure Twice Planners. Since joining the industry in 2018, I have noticed various advisor marketing strategies. Some advisors double down on LinkedIn and Facebook DMs, Google Ads, cold calling, door knocking, steak dinners, or pay-to-play lead generation. Others believe a well-crafted email newsletter is the magic formula, or they are glad to receive client inquiries through word-of-mouth referrals. In this video, I've categorized each perceived form of advisor marketing into 3 groups, and I'm going to explain each strategy using an extended metaphor that many of us can relate to, finding a landscaper to mow your lawn. The first form of marketing. Have you ever arrived home to find a business card jammed in your front door? When you open the door, it falls to the welcome mat, and you see the logo and phone number for Mike's Lawn Care Service. That moment you realize that Mike and his business exist. He is already selling you his service and product. At this point, you are merely viewed as a potential customer without any human connection. We may assume this first form of marketing doesn't have any parallels to the financial advisory industry, but thousands of advisors are cold calling, sending unsolicited messages on social media, knocking on doors, and using an elevator pitch in a similar fashion. These marketing methods may be efficient and effective for transactional businesses, but they are not as effective when building a business focused on developing collaborative relationships, aka financial planning. The second form of marketing. Imagine we are meeting for breakfast and you ask me, "Hey Cody, I've been thinking about hiring somebody to mow my lawn. Since we live in the same neighborhood, do you have any recommendations?" Then I respond, "Actually, yes, I hired this guy Mike to mow my lawn, and he does a great job. Here is his phone number." Although similar to the first form of marketing, when you simultaneously learn about this guy Mike and the service he sells, there is an additional level of perceived value since you trust that my recommendation as your friend is in your best interest. Financial advisors applaud and welcome this form of marketing, commonly called word-of-mouth referrals. Knowing that clients trust and value your services enough to refer their close friends and family feels really good, and it doesn't require more work for you. But when I ask financial advisors how they find prospective clients, and they respond, "We don't do any marketing, all of our new business comes from client referrals," this reveals an unintentional truth. If their only source of prospective clients is through referrals, that means they are no longer providing value to others outside of their current client base. The third form of marketing. This time, imagine that you are sitting at your breakfast table in the morning and looking out the window across the street, where you notice a guy mowing your neighbor's lawn. You look down at your watch and realize that he arrives every other Friday at precisely 8 in the morning. He rakes, mows, prunes, and trims with precision like an artist, and he doesn't rush or cut corners, even when he doesn't think anyone is watching. Observing him over time, you can tell that he is passionate and fulfilled by his work. Wow, that's who I want to hire for my own lawn. So you walk across the street, introduce yourself, and ask if he is available to be your landscaper as well. By the time you formally meet Mike to learn more about his business's service, process, and fee, you already understand the value of his work since you have observed him providing value to others. So how can you use this third form of marketing to provide more value to others without blatantly selling your services, but instead start giving to others without expecting something in return, and not as a strategy, but as a way of life? Can you use social media to show generosity to the specific communities you wish to serve? As a member of personal finance Facebook groups, I freely shared educational insights to help members understand more about personal finance, but without selling them anything, sending them to my firm's website, or asking them to send me a direct message. For example, my educational blog, Measure Twice Money, does not link to my financial planning business, nor advertise my services. I encourage you to think of ways that you can provide value to the families you wish to serve, even before they know you or your business exists. I also believe that the best way to learn is to teach. Teaching others what you've learned has two major benefits. It provides value to the people you're teaching, helping them improve their own situation, and it reinforces your own knowledge, tightening those screws. When you teach, you learn twice. Before determining how to be more generous to your community, you first need to understand whom you serve and how you serve in as much detail as possible. Imagine that today is the first day in your own financial planning business, and the first ideal prospective client comes through the door. Who are they, and what are they looking for? Are they single, married, divorced, widowed, employed, retired? Do they own a business? Are they a visual, auditory, or tactile learner? How much technical financial knowledge do they have? And why did they decide to walk into your office? As you visualize who they are, now how are you going to serve them? Can you help them solve specific problems? What does your financial planning process look like? How many meetings will you have? How long will they be? How will you define mutual expectations for a collaborative planning relationship as opposed to a sales transaction? Once you understand whom and how you serve, it is much easier to determine how to provide value to them through social media and other avenues. When people ask me what kind of content they should create or mention that they don't have any original ideas, I mention that content creation is simply a documentation of your thoughts and the unique conversations that you're having with members of your community. If you can't figure out what to say or what to create, simply have more conversations and capture your notes along the way. To prepare for this presentation, I wanted to discover which content has been the most engaging along my personal path. So I reviewed the past 2 years of my social media activity, and here are the 5 major themes that I found. Number 1, asking people questions they haven't asked themselves before. Like this example. Do you have a plan in place for how your spouse would guide themselves financially and otherwise in the event of your unexpected death? Estate planning is a topic most people know is important, but we don't often express our objectives publicly or even within our own family conversations. Number 2, sharing fundamental education but from a unique perspective. For example, did you know that a 4% employer match to your 401k is equivalent to over 2 weeks of additional pay in the current year, more than 3 months of pay in retirement for each year of contribution, and nearly 3 years of income in retirement if contributing over 25 years with an 8% annualized return? And that's just the employer portion. Since most of us have difficulty thinking about money as percentages, visually explaining financial principles using dollar amounts and time metrics will make your audience go, "Oh wow, I've never thought about it that way before." Number 3, transparency about your own financial planning objectives and strategies. Here is a post I shared about how my wife is able to contribute to an IRA and HSA without having her own sources of earned income. Other examples of transparency include sharing my family's entire financial plan as a Twitter thread and sharing all of my business expenses on YouTube. How many financial advisors are sharing their own circumstances on social media with full transparency? You could become one of the relative few. Number 4, going beyond the basics by teaching complex financial topics, but in a simple way. Again, it is helpful to visually show the impact of investing as dollar amounts instead of percentages. And number 5, encouraging your community through times of uncertainty. This post says, Don't get discouraged by others who believe the only path to wealth is to take extreme risk and get rich fast. Find your own pace, focus on what you can control, be intentional, stay disciplined, and keep finance personal. It can be tempting to use historical investment charts and statistics during moments of high investor anxiety, but sometimes it's most helpful to relate to your community as a human, not just as an advisor. When becoming a content creator, it is tempting to believe that it's an endless loop of creating content and posting it, creating content and posting it over and over and over again. But I encourage you to consider your own content creation organization chart to break down your process into more intentional steps, including which could be delegated to others. For example, my process is imagine. This is when I come up with new ideas of how to provide value to my audience. Research. Before creating my own content, I can discover what's already out there and ensure any of my technical content is as accurate as possible. Capture. Create my outline and script, then record the ideas through audio, video, or text. Design. Discover ways to supplement my message with additional visuals or shared resources. Proof. Measure twice by proofreading and watching my content in its entirety before it's released. Share. Spread my message on the social media platforms of choice. And finally, engage. Don't just post your content and move on. Interact with your audience and also support others' content that you genuinely find valuable. When you intentionally think about content creation as a comprehensive process and infinite game, you will develop a sense of urgency to give even more away and find yourself with more ideas than you have time for. You can find the link for these slides below, and I encourage any questions that you have at team@measuretwiceplanners.com.